Man, I haven't done this in so long. So, I'm back. Took a break. Last time you saw me, I was coming to terms with the fact that I was going to have to walk away from Get Home Safe, Mental Health Monday, all the work that we've been doing. And it was a very eye-opening and interesting. It's been an interesting year, some change. For those who don't know, I'm your boy Juice Jones from Get Home Safe. I've been a mental health advocate from publicly 2019 until present. We've gone about a bunch of folks into therapy with the work that we've done from 2019 to present, and it was my time to walk away and get therapy. Let me add some background to this discussion and this update. I guess this is an update. In 2018, I lost my best friend and former partner. That was the most important person to me, and she always struggled with mental health. Her name is Nisha. She's the reason this whole platform exists. She's the reason for the work that I do, was the reason for a lot of the work that I've done with Get Home Safe, sharing stories, people talking about their mental health bouts, struggles with therapy, struggles with getting help, struggles with taking medication, stories of what does a mental health episode look like. And that was the initial focus of what we did. For those who don't know, we ran a campaign in 2019 called Mental Health Monday. And the whole reason behind Mental Health Monday that I did with my friends, Coop the Creator and Ryan Brown, was we wanted to normalize open discussions around mental health. We wanted to normalize open discussions around getting therapy. We wanted to normalize people being okay with the prospect of getting help. And we wanted to provide people with resources for what would help for myself look like. I think at that point, we probably got about 50 or so people inquiring about therapy. We had therapists that we were working with back in the day. Shout out to Trey, shout out to Dr. Hip, shout out to Christian. Those were the three main therapists I worked with in the beginning of Mental Health Monday, which turned into Get Home Safe. We would post every single Monday for the whole year. We did events. We had a taco event that was like really popular on a Tuesday. Yeah, it was on a Tuesday. We had like a DJ DJing, bartenders serving drinks. We had someone shaking ass, and a long line of people wanting to talk to therapists and therapists of color. So at that time, I worked with therapists of color, Black therapists specifically, right? And it was empowering. It wasn't empowering for me because I had already lost my loved one to anxiety and depression, but it was empowering to see that I could help someone avoid what I had gone through. And that was important, but at the same time, I came to the realization that eventually I'm going to need therapy. Right. And when my opportunity came to get therapy, which I actually attempted to get therapy 2 times, I went to an establishment that mishandled my therapy case. And after that mishandling, after the treatment within that private practice, well, no, they weren't a private practice. They were actually a publicly owned company. I avoided getting therapy. I avoided getting help. I avoided going through the process of disappointment because I had already lost my person. And after losing your person, losing that relationship, going through so much struggle, praying for every day that you wouldn't lose them, I didn't want to lose myself in trying to get help if people weren't going to take my situation seriously. Since then, we've made shows because in my time that I couldn't get help, I had a fever there was this fever drive in me to make sure people's stories were heard, because in a part of this, my story didn't feel it was heard. And it wasn't about me specifically, but it was about our story. With a lot of the work that I've done with the folks that I've been working with, especially with Forest Therapeutics, because in the time that I stepped away from Get Home Safe, I actually got hired out by a private practice in Forest Therapeutics to handle all their production from July of 2025 to present. We're still working together. We have a couple of years left on the contract. And I took over their production. I took over their direction. Shout out to Dr. Ip and Dr. Sutton, great brothers who are both doctors that own their private practice. And I wanted to make sure that even in me leaving the game of creating mental health content for my own page, I still wanted to handle mental health content. I still wanted to be aware of where are people mentally, what's going on in their lives, what is that looking like. I still wanted to see, hey, if I'm not making content for Get Home Safe and the mission of Get Home Safe isn't moving forward, would I be able to figure out my feelings while working for a private practice? So even in me taking a break and walking away, I never walked away fully from mental health or for campaigning or for creating content or for creating direction or for still helping people. I just wanted silence in my public life so I could sit down with what I was going through and figure out who I needed to be in this time that I walked away. Now, going back to where things started with Get Home Safe, there was something very important that I realized with my two folks who I worked with, between Ryan and Coop, and that was that my friends were burned out. I have a habit of hiring friends or hiring people who are close with me that are talented. So I see a talent, I figure out what makes this talent tick, and I figure out how do I create the best environment around these people. But with that being said, I don't treat this production and what we do as a job. I'm very big on, hey, if you need a sick day, take your sick day. If you need a sick week, take a sick week. If you need a sick month, take a sick month. But at no point while doing this job should you be breaking out in hives. The stress level of us wanting to help people should never turn into an anxiety attack. And your love for me should never come at the sacrifice of your own health, especially if we're helping people. As you help people and as you garner trust and as people share these private stories with you about their suicidal ideations, about their struggles with depression or anxiety, about how ADHD has changed their views or how people view and treat them, I looked around at the people around me, and at no point did I ever think I was above the people that we were trying to help or better than the people that I was trying to help. I've always viewed them as myself. The people around you are a reflection of who you are, who you would like to be, or who you're willing to become. And sometimes in helping people, my practice of helping people and creating content and sharing these stories reinforce the fact that one day I may have to be brave enough to step away from making content. I may have to be brave enough to stop helping others and focus solely on myself. When Jory asked me that question in the last episode of Mental Health Monday, which I didn't know that'd be my last episode of Mental Health Monday, a weight wasn't lifted off my shoulders. If anything, I became more concerned with how many years have I spent avoiding getting therapy and listening to the truth of what I may be going through the lens of someone else. I spent years avoiding what would therapy look like for someone like me who's emotionally aware of a lot of what they've gone through. And I think one of my biggest fears, which I'm pretty sure I said this on camera, is after sorting out my feelings and figuring out who I've had to become to go on this venture of creating my own LLC, which was supposed to be with Nisha, and now running this LLC, which is now by myself without my friend who's passed away, is who have I become in that time in order to do all this content? And am I happy with who I am now? Am I okay with the price that has been paid to build this? And when I look in the mirror, do I feel that we've accomplished what we've decided to accomplish? And is it okay for me to let go of Get Home Safe and the work that we've done and to move on to other things? Let me tell you, I've been in a lot of therapy sessions. I think at one point I was doing 4 sessions a month, which is a pretty heavy schedule. For about, got into therapy around August. Right now my therapist is on break, but I've gone to therapy every day for about 7 months. And then I downed it to twice a month. And, I could safely say without my realization that I do this because I love you guys. I do this because I want better for us in our community. I do this because there's a voice in my head that always whispers to me right before I get tired that says, hey, can we do more? What's a subject that I'm avoiding that I need to discuss? Who would I like to work with? What books do I need to read? Who do I need to surround myself to learn? What needs to be taught? Who are the right therapists that I can work with that have a genuine understanding of the subject matter that I plan on speaking on? What have I learned from working with Forest Therapeutics? What have I learned from being a part of a private practice, even if it's on the production and marketing side? And who are the people that I would like to speak to in the future? Rest in peace to Nisha. She taught me everything that I came to understand about what depression and anxiety looks like in someone. She taught me what work ethic looks like if I stay on top of myself and I don't simply give it my best, but I plan around what should my best look like. And I figure out, hey man, what does quitting looks like? What does quitting look like when you've done enough? For me, myself, Dwight Jones, Juice Jones Creates, it's just a name that identifies the weight that I'm willing to grab onto and build and chip at piece by piece as I build what we have going on brick by brick. In the next month, I plan on leaving where we are now, the studio and everything that we've built, because it's time for a larger space. But I'm really proud of the fact that I carved out this space in time to be who I need to be. I'm glad I was able to reach out to people and not be afraid of rejection, which is actually really scary. You're going to get more no's than yeses when it comes to production work or when it comes to content or when it comes to creating things. And likability has a shelf life. And with that shelf life, I've come to realize that, what do they say? Distance makes the heart grow fonder. So I hope within that time that I was gone that people make space for me coming back. I hope that I hit the nail on the head when it comes to identifying what everybody is struggling with. I know that I plan on coming back feverishly to tackle subjects about what's going on around us economically and how that relates to mental health. I know there's other ideas that I want to bring to life. I know there's a lot of people that I want to work with. We have everything that's going on with the U.S. government, with ICE, with the economy, the price of gas, the price of groceries. Everything is not looking good for us right now. But I'm glad that I took a year to walk away and just work on me. Sometimes the scariest things we have are in our own closets. And I've been aware of what's been there for quite some time, but when you realize the reasons behind the things that you're doing and what you've become aware of, in terms of who you've had to shape yourself to be, it's really surprising when you realize that eventually you were going to become this person, whether it was from a life event or whether it was from your mom struggling or whether it was just from your own struggles. And I can speak to all those things. I'm probably going to make time to do one of these every couple of weeks to give you guys updates and insights, because I don't think I can pack everything that I went through in this year and some change into one video. I'm just here to say I'm back. I'm here to say I'm ready to work with folks again. I'm here to say if anybody has any issues or any qualms with me and the fashion in which I left, please reach out to me. I know I checked in on my IG and there's a lot of DMs. I checked all my emails. There's a lot of emails. There's a lot of people for me to get back to in that time that I was gone. If you also would like to get some therapy, mental health services, or anything else like that, I'd say please don't be afraid to reach out to the folks at Forest Therapeutics. They are great folks. They care about what they're doing. They care about what they do with the community. They're really looking forward to making a difference. And it's nice to know that I've spent years showing up as myself, even though I didn't know I was doing, and that I was able to help others. And eventually I was one day able to help myself. And I wasn't really sure if I'd ever be able to help myself. And for the average viewer who may not know everything that I described earlier, I'm not over that. I'm never going to be over losing my friend, especially in that fashion, or losing my person, especially in that fashion. But since then, I have learned to accept love from others. I've learned that it's okay to love myself through what's going on. I've learned that I've always been grateful for everything it is that I have, but to be able to embrace that and give it the love it deserves is one of the most important things you can do, especially in pain. Thank you to everybody that supported me over the years. You know, I have questions for my friends that I was going to answer, and I was like, you know what? I can answer those questions in a later video, but the most important thing I can do is the thing I've tried to do most of the time, and that's just be honest with where I am and what I would like to do. And hopefully, if I get enough work and I work in that direction and I do enough research, I could be the man that I think I am. So it's your boy Juice Jones from Get Home Safe. I hope everyone's been well, and for those who haven't, please hit me up. I work very closely with Forest Therapeutics. They're a private practice, forustherapeutics.org, if anybody is wondering about the website. And it feels good to be back in front of the camera. Did I miss this? No. But do I want this? Yes. Peace.